Very happy to be in your midst mentally now, physically, though we are a little far away. Yes, the questions, two questions. One is how to develop the qualities, when we hear about the qualities. First of all, we should know that all qualities are inherent in all His creation, including us. Through some creation He reveals this goodness, godliness. He makes us to observe. A keen observation will definitely help us to get it registered in our mind. These are all some of, not that we can copy it. Then we try to dwell more and more in mananam, masticate the same thing again and again and again. And we will find unknowingly it is influencing our thoughts, words and deeds. If we are conscious of the values, then probably it may be a failure. Because the me and mine will come. All good qualities or the values which we say, it is spontaneous in nature. All that we do is to pave the way for its emerging out. Not directly bringing it out. The me and mine is covering. So whenever and wherever we get opportunities to observe keenly this expansion, that means our mind is getting aligned with it. We will try to share. We will try to share some of the experiences which one Subrata Bakshi, you might have heard about him. He shared. It was touching. We used to repeat it in various value-based sessions with students and teachers. The effect was instantaneous. Because after that we will have an interactive session. What is it that you remember from this? When we ask, they will be quoting, That means it has slowly gone in. So we, unlike other subjects, we cannot take the subject directly to the mind. It has to be touched and kindled. Not by teaching, learning. Because it is already there, it has to be touched and kindled. I hope we have time. It will take about 15 minutes, but it is worth it. For example, I will tell you, there are umpteen number of instances. One day when we were taking dictation from Puja Swamiji, Sachidanandaji, it must have been in 89, in a small room, not this big room where he was occupying. It was at about 10 o'clock. One father and his daughter, they came. So when we reported to Swamiji, Swamiji said, ask them to sit. They were asked to sit in the next room. After some time, and he continued handling the letters. We were noting down. And Sri Swami, Shuddhanandaji, when he came there, he said, Swamiji, there is a problem. What problem? These devotees have returned from Hyderabad to book tickets for them. Okay. So on those days, to book ticket, we have to send somebody from the ashram to Mangalore station. and he has to stand in the queue and then book it. Okay. Then Sri Rama Swami said, they have not sent the money. They will send the money, but they have not sent the money now. Swamiji did not utter a word. He waited for a few minutes. He went back to his room. Again the letter handling was continued. Somebody came, he is taking leave. So Swamiji said, give prasad. So we gave prasad. At the time of leaving, he left a cover at Swamiji's feet. Swamiji said, take 1000 rupees from that cover. And then he said, ask the father and daughter now what to come. So he gave prasad. Then we came to know that the girl's marriage has been fixed. And a couple of days back he had come here. So Swamiji had asked him to come on that day. Okay, no other thing. Later on only we understood. And then he said, call Sri Rama Swami. How much you want? I want 2500 rupees. He asked me, what is in the balance in the cover? It was 2500 rupees. It was given to him. So we had the first hand experience, So we first asked Swamiji, at the time when the father and daughter came, you made them to sit. When Sri Rama Swami came and asked for something, you kept quiet. Do you know at that time that somebody will come and place the cover before you? He did not answer directly. He shared one experience. It must have been in late 50s or early 60s. One day, every week we had ashram has to buy ration, rice, So that was the last day of the week. So Swamiji got up from his Ramana building and going towards Bhajan Hall. Papa, as usual with his walking stick, in that blissful, as usual, he was coming out. He asked, yes, Sachidanand, what? So he said, Papa, there is a problem. What problem? Today is the last day, we have to buy the ration. So what? I need 100 rupees. So Papa asked, what is your cash balance? 2 rupees. 2 rupees! Wonderful, he said. At that time, one young man who was going through the road, there was absolutely from the ashram gate, everything was plain. You can see anybody going through the main road. From that main road, one young man was running towards ashram. And he came there, he came to Panchavati, and Papa was standing there, Swamiji was standing the other side, he prostrated before Papa. Papa, I just wanted to see you. Where are you from? He said, I am nearby only. Every day I used to feel that I should have your darshan. But every time I will be busy going somewhere or I may not see you there. Today, the moment I was passing through, I saw. I just immediately rushed up. Acha, having come, you go inside. He said, I have no time. I would immediately rush. I just came here to see you, that's all. He prostrated, left a cover. And after he went, Swamiji took that cover, it had 100 rupees. So when Papa says God arranges all things in his own way at the time he appoints, it is a theory for all of us. But reliance on God, when we observe with our own naked eyes, what is happening, it touches and kindles the faith. One more, the Supradev Bachis, is very nice. I was the last child of a small-time government servant in a family of 5 brothers. My earliest memory of my father is that of the district employment officer in Koraput, Orissa. Koraput was and remains as back as beyond you can imagine. There was no electricity, no primary school nearby, water did not flow out of tap. As a result, I did not go to school until the age of 8. I was homeschooled. My father used to get transferred every year. The family belongings fit into the back of a jeep. So the family moved from place to place, and without any trouble, my mother would set up an establishment and get us going. Raised by a widow who had come as a refugee from the then East Bengal, she was matriculate when she married my father. My parents set the foundation of my life and the value system which makes me what I am today and largely defines what success means to me. As district employment officer, my father was given a jeep by the government. There was no garage in the office, so the jeep was parked in our house. My father refused to use it to commute to the office. He told us that the jeep was an expensive resource given by the government. He reiterated to us that it was not his jeep but the government's jeep, insisting that he would use it only to tour the interiors. He would walk to his office on normal days. He also made sure that we never sat in the government jeep. We could sit it only when it was stationary. That was our early childhood lesson in governance, a lesson that corporate managers learned that hard way, some never do. The driver of the jeep was treated with respect due to any other member of my father's office. As small children, we were taught not to call him by his name. We had to use the suffix Dada whenever we were to refer to him in public or private. When I grew up to own a car and a driver by name Raju was appointed, I repeated the lesson to my two small daughters and they used to call Raju uncle. Very different from many of their friends who refer to their family drivers as my driver. When I hear that term from a school or a college going person, I cringe. To me, the lesson was significant. You treat small people with more respect than how you treat big people. It is more important to respect your subordinates than your superiors. And then newspaper will be given and he was asked to read because he came from the Oriya medium school. After reading the newspaper, we were told to fold it neatly. Father taught us a simple lesson. He used to say, you should leave your newspaper and your toilet the way you expect to find it. That lesson was about showing consideration for others. Government houses seldom come with fences. Mother and I collected twigs and built a small fence. After lunch, my mother would never sleep. She would take her kitchen utensils and with those she and I would dig the rocky, white ant infested surrounding. We planted flowering bushes, the white ants destroyed them. My mother brought ash from her chura, mixed it in the earth. We planted the seedlings all over again. This time they bloomed. At that time my father's transfer order came. A few neighbors asked my mother why she was taking so much pain to beautify a government house, why she was planting seeds that would only benefit the next occupant. My mother replied, I have to create a bloom in a desert, and whenever I am given a new place, this is very important, I must leave it more beautiful than what I had inherited. That was my first lesson in success. It is not about what you create for yourself, it is what you leave behind that define success. My mother began developing cataract in her eyes. So in addition to my daily chorus, my job was to read her the local newspaper, end to end. That created in me a sense of connectedness with a larger world. I began taking interest in many different things. While reading out news about the war, I felt that I was fighting the war myself. Till she and I discussed the daily news, built a bond with the larger universe. In it, we became a part of a larger family. Till date, I measure my success in terms of the sense of larger connectedness. Over the next few years, my mother's eyesight dimmed, but in me, she created a larger vision, a vision with which I continued to see the world, and I sensed through my eyes she was seeing too. As the next few years unfolded, her vision deteriorated and she was operated for cataract. I remember when she turned after her operation, she saw my face clearly for the first time. And she said, "Oh my God, I did not know that you were so fair." Within weeks of getting her sight back, she developed a corneal ulcer, overnight became blind in both eyes. That was in 1969. She died in 2002. In all those 32 years of living with blindness, she never complained about her fate even once. Curious to know what she saw within blind eyes, I asked her once if she sees darkness. She replied, "No, I do not see darkness. I only see light even with my eyes closed." Until she was 80 years of age, she did her morning yoga every day, swept her own room, washed her own clothes. To me, success is about the sense of independence. It is about not seeing the world, but seeing the light. Over the many intervening years, I grew up, studied, joined the industry, began to carve my life's own journey. He was in US. When I was posted in US, I learned that my father, living a retired life with my eldest brother, had suffered a third-degree burn injury and was admitted in the Satsang hospital in New Delhi. Another very touching incident. I flew back to attend to him. He remained a few days in a critical stage, bandaged from neck to toe. The Satsang hospital is a cockroach-infested, dirty, inhuman place. The overworked, under-resourced sisters in the burn ward are both victims and perpetrators of dehumanized life at the worst. One morning, while attending to my father, I realized that the blood bottle was empty, and fearing that air would go into his vein, I asked the attending nurse to change it. She bluntly told me to do it myself. In that horrible theater of death, I was in pain, frustration, anger. Finally, when she relented and came, my father opened his eyes and murmured to her, "Why have you not gone home yet?" Here was a man on the deathbed, but more concerned about the overworked nurse than his own state. I was stunned at the stoic self. There I learned that there is no limit to how concerned you can be for another human being, and what is the limit of inclusion you can create. My father died the next day. He was a man whose success was defined by his principles, his frugality, his universalism, his sense of inclusion. Above all, he taught me success is your ability to rise above your discomfort, whatever may be your current state. Two years back, at the age of 82, mother had a paralytic stroke and was lying in a government hospital in Birmingham. I flew down from the US, where I was serving my second stint, to see her. I spent 2 weeks with her in the hospital as she remained in the paralytic state. She was neither getting better nor moving on. Eventually, I had to return to work. While leaving her behind, I kissed her face. In that paralytic state, in a garbled voice, she said, "Why are you kissing me? Go and kiss the world." Her river was nearing its journey. at the confluence of life and death. This woman, who came to India as a refugee, raised by a widowed mother, no more educated than high school, married to an anonymous government servant whose last salary was rupees 300, robbed of her eyesight by fate, crowned by diversity, was telling me to go and kiss the world. So it is the ability to rise above the immediacy of pain. It is about sensitivity to small people. It is about building inclusion. It is about connectedness to a larger world existence. It is about personal tenacity. It is about giving back more to life than you take of it. It is about creating extraordinary success with ordinary lives. So this, when somebody explains or narrates his own experience, and God makes us to go through it. You see, this was delivered by him when he was addressing the IIM students, Indian Institute of Management students. Somebody was kind enough to send us through email. And when it reached, and when we went through it, it was so touching. Now you see the process. God made somebody to go through. He made him to witness. God prompted him to share this experience. And God made somebody to send it to us. And God touches and kindles and you make us to remember and makes you to share with this. This process, God has initiated so that what is inherent in it is touched and kindled. The only thing is we have to keep on repeating it, refreshing it. Otherwise, our preoccupations will definitely cover this. This is what is called sadhana, a repetitive dwelling on it. So when every day we read newspaper, we fold it, then we remember. Whenever we are doing a half-a-third way or suddenly we will remember this. You should leave the newspaper in the toilet as you would like to find it. When you enter the toilet, how do you want to see that toilet? When somebody wants to read the newspaper, it should be neat and tidy. He should not be searching for anything. So the care and concern for others, this is the value that is touched and kindled in us, not directly, but by kindling and making it alive in our mind. So when we keep on reading values depicted in Srimad Bhagavad Gita, we try to stitch it with an experience. Otherwise it becomes academic, intellectual, superficial. First of all, we know God is within us. He is the repository of all that is good and great. So not that we have to learn it from outside. Every creation of His is good and noble. But due to various reasons like our karmic wrangle, me and dominance of me and mine, we are unaware of this. Papa used to say, goodness is godliness. So how to touch and kindle, that is what we are all trying to do. So by keeping our eyes open, ears open, we try to see this aspect of God. This is called God dimension. You can treat it as an incident, but here something more than that, a God dimension is there. This is how a sadhaka slowly moves from me to me to me to we. So all the noble qualities which are in all of us are blocked by the me and mine, and by observing it. Let's say Papa said yesterday, we shared that beautiful quotation. The world we live in is a school in which observation and experience offer us immense possibilities for self-improvement. Nay, the world itself is Guru or God. So we try to see the goodness everywhere. No? Not that the opposite is not there. God has done it for certain purpose, that we will, as we keep on moving in the spiritual journey, we will also try to understand the relevance of the so-called labeled negative ones, though there is no negative ones. So as a sadhaka, we try to associate ourselves with such thoughts, such experiences. And the second question was about Papa's Gita Sandesh. This is what he said. Ramdas is now reading to you the first chapter in Gita Sandesh. We are reading from God experience. You now see what moha is, how it vitiates the intellect, poisons the springs of emotions, render the will impotent. Moha is attachment to things through the feeling of I and mine. First chapter. When you are free from moha, you say thou and thine. Who is thou here? God. Not my will, thy will be done, O God. Ramdas will now read the last chapter also. It gives a gist of the whole Gita. Then Papa says, the book's Gita Sandesh was written in about 18 or 20 days. Ramdas took the book Bhagavad Gita with a running commentary in English. Every day he would dictate one chapter, and a friend from Saurashtra was taking down. Saurashtra means present day Gujarat. Afterwards it was typed. Ramdas hardly made any corrections. It was then sent to the press, and this book has come out. Then devotee asked, one can feel that it was done quickly. There is a flow in it. Papa, Ramdas is not a Sanskrit scholar. The same problem we all have. We did not have the traditional way of Vedic teaching. Still he could dictate a brief commentary upon it. It is wonderful. People do not believe when he says he does not know Sanskrit. But if he had written the commentary now, he would have written it differently. This was written many years ago, that is in 1933 or 1934. Devotee, we would like to know what would be the difference if Papa wrote Gita Sandesh today. Papa, the whole presentation of Gita's message would be different. He has no urge to write again. He finds the whole of this book stale. Higher meaning can be given to some shlokas which are treated in an ordinary way. As you grow in experience, you find what you have written earlier is no good. Devotee, I am sure Papa will write one more book. Papa, any other new work Papa Ramdas cannot undertake. He has no idea about it. One thing Ramdas has to do, the translation of Mataji's autobiography in English. This is a work which Ramdas has to do, but he could not take it up as it. This liver trouble prevented it first. Now the pain is not of much importance. It cannot come in the way, but somehow his mind does not go to it. This is the last work he will be doing before the body gets stopped. That work he has to carry it out. So that is the story behind Gita Sandesh. Every time when a doubt comes, the intellect brings out a doubt, we have to immediately check up to what extent it helps me to become aware of his presence. Because this is very important. Otherwise it will unknowingly slip into an intellectual exercise. In what way it helps me to make me aware of his presence within me? The simple answer could be that it is he who is prompting me. No? Then if he is prompting me, it is he who has got the answer with him. When we do like this, slowly we become aware there is a connection between us and him inside. That is what is needed. Rest of the things are not very important. Otherwise what happens is, if we go through the words and we start analyzing it, it gives a thrill, no doubt about it. But the purpose is to connect ourselves with the indwelling reality. All our sadhanas, all our activities, right from morning till evening, it should be directed towards making us aware of His presence. Yesterday the Gita gave us a clarion call at the end of the 18th. Only my will prevails, not your will. If we are clear about it, whatever Shastras say, ultimately it should lead us to become aware of His presence. And so this is the general aspect. Technically speaking, Sankalpa Vikalpa, it comes because of the sense of individuality. That is why we should be able to transcend the Sankalpa and Vikalpa. Concepts and the appendage to it. Because who is giving the concept? He gives us a concept and makes us to go about towards Him. But we should know the concept is created, the concept wells up in my mind because He is there first in the form of life force. If I am always constantly directing my thought to Him, then all other factors pale into insignificance. How do we come to this understanding? There are many unlettered, spiritually evolved souls. Even among the 14 direct disciples of Sri Ramakrishna, Latu Maharaj was not at all, well informed or well conversant with any of the Shastras. But he was a highly spiritually evolved soul. What does it mean? So it means that the outer knowledge helps only to a certain extent. What is more important is, or the role of the outer knowledge is, to make us always constantly aware that it is He who is making me to think. It is He who is making me to dwell. It is He who is making me to talk. It is He who is making me to do. The moment we become aware of this, the purpose has been served. To make it more clear, somebody beautifully said, the culmination of spiritual practices ends in the seeker becoming one with the sought. That is the starting point and the end. When he realizes that the starting point and the ending point is one and the same. Please think over it. Distance is between the starting point and the ending point. Papa used to make it as a pathless path. There is no path. That is a path. Pathless path. So this is my ultimate aim. To know that the starting point and the ending point is one and the same. If all my intellectual efforts help me in knowing this, it will take me closer to that. If he helps me to take it away from this, it becomes an academic exercise. Even while we were going through the Bhagavad Gita, every time he reminds us, don't slip into the technicalities. Connect it to your life. You will be able to understand it. Papa, in one of his own words, we will read. He says, this applies to everything, any studies. Through mere superficial churning of thought, Ramdas's words cannot be understood. We can remove Ramdas, any text. Gita cannot be understood. Sutra cannot be understood. You can throw light on them only when you bring with you that blazing torch of your own perfected experience. Experience is gained by diving into the depth of your mind. Mere assertion of the truth is not realization. Realization means direct perception and experience. So when we hear, it is somebody's language, somebody's presentation. It has not become mine. So I have to interpret it in the way in which I can understand. That is why it slips into academic exercise. We should know somebody has written. Papa has written something. In Quest of God was written by Papa. What has it to do with me? So I have to go through it, take the theme, interpret it to me in my own language. That is my own experience. My own language means my own experience. Then I try to become aware of it. Otherwise I may be able to give lectures for hours together on In Quest of God, but I would not have been able to move towards Him. As a spiritual sadhaka, we find this, more effective. Every time when we read something, we close, we try to get it from ourselves. So when you say sankalpa and vikalpa, or any such words that come to us, first we try to understand, Acha, you gave us this. These words have come from because of a language, and the language I did not bring. You chose an instrument to give this language to him, and you made me now to think about it. You made me now to get clarification out of it. But in that process, you are making me unaware of your presence. That I will not allow. The whole purpose of making all this, I know. A trick is played by you. I want to remember you. You are behind this. That itself is known. So every time when we approach with this bhavana, he will also reveal to us the inner meaning of that particular term. But ultimately the result is, I must become aware of his presence. That is why Puja Swami Satchidananda Ji, in one of his talks, he made a mention that a sadhaka is a sadhaka for 24 hours. It is not that when we go to ashram, when we go to temple, when we hear lectures, when we go through Vedas, when we go through Upanishads, when we go through Bhagavad Gita, we become sadhaka, and rest of the time, either we are a family person or a professional person or a social person. No. Every moment of our life, we are trying to convert everything as a form of sadhana. Means what? Connecting ourselves with Him. We may fail, we may forget, but we will try. In Bhagavad Gita itself he says, even if you do a little, that won't be in vain. Swarpam apyasya dharmasya trayatu bhagato bhavan. So even if you do 5%, 10%, don't think it will be a waste. So right from the morning till evening, until night, whenever we handle anything at the household level or the professional level or the social level, if we try to bring this dimension, we have done one step forward, one step forward. It doesn't mean we are belittling the importance of Shastras. It has got its own relevance in the journey, but it is not a must. We have seen many number of people who are leading a spiritual life bereft of all this. We have seen people who have been leading a spiritual life with this also. So it depends upon, because they are very clear. The God dimension is what is needed. As we said, right from a young age, God did not offer us facilities to go through the Vedic studies in the traditional way. Though He made us to listen to talks by great saints on Upanishads, on Shankara's work, on Bhagavad Gita, we did not have even Narada Bhakti Sutra. We would have read, we would have heard. But our interest somehow he did not focus it on these. But he always said, you try to remember me, you try to remember me, you try to remember me. and I will provide you whatever you need. So based on this assurance we go, and he provides. Initially we have labeled certain things as sadhana, certain things as mundane life. So it will take time for us to erase it from our mind, that bereft of him there is no life. It is we who have labeled it as a spiritual life and mundane life. So we try to understand. How do we try to understand? By going to the source. Yesterday we elaborately dealt with that. So whenever he provides you a pause moment, even if it is 5 minutes, 10 minutes, in your busy schedule. Just now I remember, it might be of use, when Dada Vaswaniji, when he came to England, London, we were told, he was addressing a huge audience. He was talking about spirituality in daily life, something like that. So somebody got up from the audience and stood and said, Maharaj, to you it is easy because you have no other bondings. So the disturbance level will be very low. But to us, early morning when we get up, we have so many things to do and try to get back to our professional field and then come back and take care of the family. So many problems are there. In the midst of this, how do you expect us to remember God? All these years, He has, if we are to believe your words, He has given us no time at all to think about Him, and He has made us to involve ourselves in all these activities. The mind is habituated in all these only, fully preoccupied. How are we to remember God? Maharaj smiled and said, you are absolutely right. Unlike me, you have no time, agreed. But I am only asking
5 seconds in an hour.
5 seconds
In an hour.
out of 3,000 seconds, 3,600 seconds. Immediately, they started 5 seconds out of 3,600. That means 1 hour, no?
Yeah.
That is possible, somebody said. Then immediately he said, as soon as you get up, you close your eyes and say, I am not alone, you are with me. 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 5 times. Go. Start brushing your teeth, go this and that. Next hour comes. Suppose you are in the bathroom, or you have come out of the bathroom, changing your dress. Suddenly you remember the particular hour has come. Close your eyes. I am not alone, you are with me. 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 Bas. Then again engage in all your activities. Go to the office or get into the vehicle, something like that. Again you look at the watch, 1 hour. Close your eyes. Mentally you repeat, you don't have to tom-tom. Nobody need know about this process. And when you go to the office, definitely you will be getting some pause moments. If everybody is looking and if you find it embarrassing, go to the toilet. Close the door. Repeat. When you make an earnest effort to repeat this as many times as possible in a busy day, you will find unknowingly you are finding time to remember Him. And then slowly, it becomes a practice from 1% to 5%, 5% to 10%, 10 to 20, like that. Then even while we are immersed in activity, we know that He is making us to do. Even this talking may look to be easy, but unless and until we try it, it may not. That means there are umpteen number of ways by which we can dwell on His remembrance, not necessarily through a particular one. It really, when we heard this, many years ago, it really touched us. Because Papa used to mention in his first book, even the period ever so small, that word, that got stuck in us. Not necessarily that morning till evening we chant His name. That may not be possible. He has not given us that freedom. He has given us a family, He has given us a profession, He has given us a society. It is He who has given, and He does not definitely expect us to do in a particular form. All that He wants is to remember Him wherever we are. In the evening we will touch a few lines about Bhagavad Gita again. These are all there. Yesterday we remember. Tasmat sarveshu kaleshu mam anusmara idyacha. Therefore, at all times, in all places, remember me and fight the battle of life. If we try to expand it and if we try to make it practical, all the other things will help us. God definitely puts us on severe test always. We name it as adverse circumstances. We will be definitely shaken. But whenever we make use of our leisure time in reading the biographies of the masters, for example, in Papa's case, In Quest of God is that one book. It contains all this. That means the first lesson he teaches is, as soon as we get shaken by an adverse statement, naturally, that is natural, spontaneous. But in the shortest possible time, we must be able to pull us up. God is behind this. God is behind this. God is behind this. Then it can't be an adverse. There should be some learning from it. Then we are unable to decipher it. Then we pray to Him from the bottom of the heart. This is too much for me to bear. Kindly show me why you made me to pass through. I have not always been a teacup. There was a time in my life when I was just a lump of clay. Then my master took me, began to pat and mold and shape me. It was very painful. I begged him to stop, but he only smiled and said, "Not yet." Then he placed me on a spinning wheel. I went round and round. I got so sick, I thought I was not going to make it. But then he finally let me off. Just as I thought I was going to be all right, my master put me in an oven. I have never understood why he wanted to burn me. I yelled, begged of him to stop, to let me out. I could see dimly through the glass in the oven door, but he only smiled, shook his head and said, "Not yet." Finally he came and took me out. "Oh, that sure feels better," I said to myself. Then all of a sudden my master picked me up, started sanding and brushing me. Then he took me a paintbrush and started painting colors all over me. The fumes were so strong, I thought I was not going to pass out. I pleaded with him to stop, but he continued to smile and said, "Not yet." Then he placed me in another oven. This one was twice as hot as the first. I knew that I would suffocate. I begged, I pleaded, I cried. But he still only smiled and said, "Not yet." I began to feel there was no hope. I would never make it. I couldn't take any more. It was all over for me. I decided to give it up. Then the door swung open and Master said, "Now." He lifted me up. He placed me on the shelf to rest. Later he came to me with a mirror and told me to look. As I looked at myself, I couldn't believe my eyes. I said, "Oh, what a beautiful teacup." Then the master explained, "I want you to understand. I knew it hurt when I patted and molded you. I knew the spinning wheel made you sick. But if I had left you alone, you would have dried up and always have been just a lump of clay. You would not have had any personality in your life. I knew it was hot when I put you in the first oven. But if I had not, you would just have crumbled. I knew it really bothered you to be brushed and painted. But if I had not, you would not have had any color in your life. Oh, I knew how I knew the second oven was hard for you. But you see, if I had not put you there, you would not have been able to bear the pressure. Something of it. Pressures of life. You would not have been able to stand the pressures of life. Your strength would not have lasted, so you would not have survived very long. So, this is the message for all of us. So you see, when you thought I was all so very hard, I still had you in my care. I knew all along what you would be today. I had the finished product in my mind from the day I first touched you. All of us have to go through pains in life. If only we understand that each such pain is making a better person out of us, our day will be better. Have a nice day. When we showed this in one of our annual retreat, normally it happens in December. It was many years ago, 10-15 years ago. One day after that, somebody called, I am in the second oven now. So every time when we are made to pass through adverse circumstances, though we may be shaken for a little in the beginning, a deep contemplation on this during the rest of the time will definitely give us some cushioning. And then we will come to know He is making me to pass through. Because life is full of ups and downs. There can never be a time where there is only ups. So ups and downs He gives because that is needed. Otherwise we will not remember Him. The so-called downs are the prerequisites we find later. Prerequisites for moving towards Him. So we don't have to belittle the importance of adverse circumstances in our life. It is all needed. But during the off time, whenever we are at sattvic moments like this, if we try to ponder over this deeply, it will have its own dent impact on our mind. And we will be able to immediately bear it, that cushioning will be there. Some purpose must be, I am unable to understand, I am unable to bear. We can cry, plead, appeal to Him. But only when we remember that He is behind this. If we are carried away by that incident, and if we go along with that, we will continue to label it as a stressful period. We don't know whether you remember, in Papa's first book, In Quest of God, it starts from, he says, the period full of stress and anxiety, uncertainties. Then he cried, where is help? Where is peace? When the prayer came from the bottom of the heart, intuitively he heard, trust me. Despair not, trust me. I will make you free. It's a great assurance for us. So all that is needed is, as we said earlier, the price tag of remembering Him. Not to be carried away by whatever that is He is making us to pass through. He does it to cure us, to purify us, to refine us. If this is there during our sattvic moments, if we try to pump in as much as we can with all its potentiality, rest assured it will have its positive impact. You will be able to handle our situations. Though initially we may be a little shaken. That is okay, that is the nature of the body-mind-intellect complex. When suppose we unknowingly place our foot on the fire, we get immediately, that burning sensation will be there. But immediately we know, we will not blame anybody. We will only, I should have been careful, that's all. So the immediate shock will be there. But at the same time, our spiritual, our bringing this God dimension on a full-time basis, on a permanent basis, will definitely pull us out of this This is a great assurance given by all masters, not through scriptures, but through their own experience. So kindly remember this, not yet. During ups as well as in downs. Normally when the ups come, we take the credit, So we try to bring in, He has made us. He has made us to possess, to own, to enjoy, to deliver. Then there is no problem. We need not tom-tom. All these are an inward activity. And that is why, then when we go through Bhagavad Gita, when we go through the values brought out therein, how he wants us to... there is one more quotation, yes. I keep on talking, it's alright. You have to bear it. This word of Papa. He provides, he makes us to remember, he immediately provides. These are his words. A soul fired with a burning zeal and an unconquerable heroism can alone cross the boundary and enter the kingdom of eternal joy and peace. Just as an unshapen stone can be fashioned into a beautiful image worthy of adoration and worship only after it has received many a stroke of the chisel, so also a distorted and inharmonious life has to pass through many a trial, suffering, tribulation before the great change could come over it, before the life of ignorance could be transmuted into a life of immortal splendor and joy, fit to be revered, fit to be adored. So only after it has received many a stroke of the chisel, when a sculptor, when he is given a piece of rock and he has been asked to bring out a vigraha there, he does, chisel. It is a painful thing for the rock, no doubt, but it is going to be a perennial source of inspiration for innumerable devotees for time to come. From time immemorial it will be there. For years to come. Innumerable devotees. But for that it has to bear the hardships of the chisel. So these are all something on which we can keep on dwelling. And then we will find God also puts me through so many fires, so many trying experience. But He has the end product in His heart, in His mind. So I am being shaped, We can plead, we can cry, we can appeal. This is too much for me to bear, please. Until such time He will keep on pressing the button. When the prayer comes from the bottom, the button is released.
I kept hot water there and ask him.
Anyway, it has been very lively. We are very, very happy.